I got home last night in the early morning, about 1 o'clock, from what has to be, for me, one of the worst walking on water experiences I have had in a long time. I was leaving after having gone to a funeral of one of our brother LaSalettes and a week of meetings up in New England, leaving Providence, Rhode Island, yesterday to come back to Atlanta. The first flight I was scheduled to go on was canceled. So I had to wait around 5 hours in Providence for a second ride to come that was going to take me from Providence down through Washington, D.C., and then on the same plane, thank God, to Atlanta. Well, shortly after we got up in the skies, I knew something was wrong. The clouds were all around us, and they were storm clouds. And from the moment we got on the plane, the moment we started out, the plane started to rock. We had the turbulence of a lifetime. The stewardesses were not allowed to get up to give me the ginger ale I needed for my stomach. But as we went further on, an hour and 40-minute flight eventually turned into a 3-hour flight from Providence to Boston. All the way, the plane was rocking and rolling and going up and down. And the children on the plane, especially, including me, were frightened to death. And I had to say at least 50 times, "Lord, save us! Lord, save us!" And we got down towards D.C. And as we got down there, the pilot said, "Well, we're going to have to circle around about another 45 minutes before they'll let us land." And all that time, we were rocking and rolling and rocking and rolling. And then we tried to make a landing, and we did one of those wonderful things, that go like this, once, and then twice. And I thought, we're never going to get down. We're just never going to. And I'm screaming, "Lord," all the way down, "Lord, save me, Lord, save me." Like Peter in the boat, And somewhere along the line there, I heard a voice saying to me, "Stop worrying about yourself. Think about some other people and walking on water that they're going through in their life, and maybe it will help you a little bit." So for most of the trip, I spent writing a little bit. And I'd like to share some of that with you. The first people I thought about were the teens who go to Edge, or who are asked to go to Edge by their parents, or commanded to go to Edge by their parents. And they go in the first time and they start thinking to themselves, what is this thing? What are they going to ask me to do? Why am I here? And then there's the Life Teeners who go to Life Teen, and suddenly they're treated to the process of small groups. And every time you get into one of those small groups, it's often with people who are unfamiliar to you. And they ask you to share something about your faith. Why am I doing this? You often, I'm sure, say to yourself. And then there's the teens that go on the mission trips. And they get to the places where they're meant to do something, and they look, and there's such poverty all around them. And I'm sure you think to yourselves, I can't handle this. What am I doing here? What can I do to make a difference in the lives of these people? You know, and I get to think every year you, as youth, get invited to youth retreats. And you start off and you go and you have fun, and then all of a sudden you get into those small groups again, and they start saying to you, now we want you to share your story. Share something of where you are with the Lord. And the knot in your stomach starts to tighten, and you wonder, what am I doing? Why did I come on this thing? For each of these things, you are walking on water. And then, again, especially for you as teens, you are living in a world, especially in a school world, which is filled with gossip. And oftentimes you're going to be asked to enter it, take part in it. Or maybe the world of easy cheating on an exam comes your way, and you have to wonder whether or not it's worth doing or not. Or maybe sometimes you enter that world where the offer is made of some drugs, or experimenting maybe with some alcohol, or maybe even coming to grips with that very difficult emotional power in life called sexuality. And you often face it and you wonder, what do I do in these circumstances? What do they think if I don't? What do my parents think if I do? What will happen to me if I do? You think about these things. You're walking on water. And then, of course, there's, especially as we all get older, there's those requests, or there's those things that are made to us, where it says, do you really believe what you say? When you say that, for example, life begins at the first moment of conception, and you're asked to not only believe that, but to act out of it and to live out of it. The same way with the belief that says, all of these people are my brothers and sisters, and I do have some responsibility for them. What do I do about the homeless, about the migrant, the immigrant? How do I handle them in life? And when I walk out the door and I start to act out of my belief, what are people going to think about me? They're going to think that I'm just a do-gooder, or one of those Christian people who maybe says something but doesn't live what I say. Every time we're faced with those things, we walk on water. And then there's that time when we have to face down prejudice. And all of us have to face it down every day of our life. And the fear and the anger that it causes in our life. And it causes in the life of others. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what am I going to do when I'm faced with somebody being prejudiced against somebody I know, somebody I like, somebody I admire? Am I going to stand up for them? Or am I going to let fear dictate the way I keep silent? What am I going to do when I'm asked to forgive somebody who's hurt me? Or what am I going to do when I've hurt somebody and something in my heart says to me, I ought to ask forgiveness, but I don't know how to do it. I'm not sure what the response will be. And in each of these things, these moments, we walk on water. Or maybe there's, for any of you who have experienced it, is taking that risk to love or to trust again when your heart has been broken, or your trust has been betrayed. Or maybe there's that time when couples or families decide that they're going to adopt a child, maybe from an orphanage, or maybe from a foster home, a child who hasn't been loved and is needed and needs to be cared for, and they decide to bring them into and make them a part of the family. Or maybe there's that time when a couple or a family decides that they're going to bring to birth a child whose medical situation may complicate their lives for years to come. Or maybe there's even that time when you care for, and many of us have done it, care for loved ones who have a debilitating disease. And we don't know what exactly to do except to try to keep on loving them. And in all of these things, and so many more, and I know there's examples galore out there of the times when you are stepping out of the boat of the normal, and you're asked to walk on water. Water that is confusing, a water that is stormy, a water that is filled with anxiety and worry and fear. We've all been there, and we're all going to continue to be there. And the question I had last night, as the question I have for all of us, is what am I going to do when I have to start walking on all these waters? How am I going to ensure that I don't sink? Like Peter was worried when he stepped out of the boat. And somewhere along the line, last night, as the plane was rocking and rolling, God spoke to me in a whisper and said to me a simple phrase: you cannot sink. You cannot sink because you've already been drowned. You cannot sink because you've already been drowned. Drowned in the waters of baptism, where you and I, it didn't have to look like this. It could look like anything. It could be a lot of water, or it could be a little water. But whatever it is, the church tells us that at that moment, we were drowned in the deep love of Christ for us. Drowned into his own passion, his death, so that no matter what waters we were asked to walk, we would always rise up. We were submerged into his sacred care for us, that made a promise that said, anytime you get to the waters that you have to walk in life, I will not let you walk alone. And that's the key for me. So no matter whether you're dealing with edge, or no matter whether you're dealing with a decision about bringing people into your family or caring for loved ones who are ill, no matter what it is that you face in life, that I face in life, that makes me have to walk on the waters that are confusing and frightening and worrisome. Keep that phrase in mind. You will not sink because you already have been drowned in his love. And maybe then, if you keep that in mind, you'll be able to reach out with your heart so that you can grab a hold of whatever hand he seeks to put your way to keep you steady. to keep you focused, to keep you trusting. And maybe, just maybe, you and I will have that trust. That trust that maybe stops us from less screaming out, "Lord, save me!" And maybe having the trust and the confidence and the courage to sing a little bit more courageously in our life. "Oh, Lord, you never let go. Oh, Lord." That's it. I didn't tell him what it was. "Oh, you never let go. Through the calm, through the storm,